you know, like we said, you know the history. And maybe they played together yesterday, and Lemke was just playing tight. Wasn't playing a lot of pots, and maybe that's why Joe decided to not go with it pre-flop.
Yeah, that's.
They also were in pretty. They were both pretty early position there. I think that could have swayed it a bit too.
Usually when I'm doing this, I feel like I'm in a spot where I'm just critiquing all the play, and I feel like I'm kind of learning now. Like in that spot with Kuether, I would never just calling with 9s and seeing what happens.
Yeah, flatting is really interesting, I feel like, in that spot.
I kind of like...
With against a 30 big blind 3-bet.
Yeah, generally you make a lot of decisions pre-flop there and kind of go with it or fold a lot of times. Yeah, we've transitioned to a different era of poker. I think guys are much happier to flat than they were, you know, a couple of years ago. So it looks like Jim's going to come in for the raise with the Jack-7 off. And it looks like, did we go up to 25K, 50K? Is that right? Yeah. It looks like the blinds have been raised here. And Joe actually wakes up with a pretty good hand here. And I would probably just expect him to 3-bet call, right? Maybe he just calls. Okay. Again, 30 bigs. Like, I guess Joe's not very happy just getting it in pre too wide here. Maybe he feels like he's a bigger edge post flop, or just doesn't want to play big pots this early in the final table. I don't think Ace-Jack is disastrous to 3-bet call blind versus blind for 30 bigs by any means.
No, not at all.
That'd be pretty standard, actually.
Yeah.
I would think.
Joe's really trying to play post flop against these guys, which is maybe that's, you know, part of his success, is just playing a ton of hands post flop.
Playing a little cash game style against tourney pros.
I like to do that when everybody's deep and when people are, you know, really bad. But these guys are pretty good. So I don't know if he's going to gain all that post-flop edge.
And Jim gets his gin card here. And it's actually a pretty good card for Joe, too, since Joe turns open-ended.
Very good card
to go with his top pair. And we've seen Jim's been hitting some flops for sure here.
In this case, a turn, but yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. Well,
he's made some hands for sure.
It didn't work out for him the last time with the flush, though, but this straight's in much better shape here. You see Joe actually has 0% chance to actually win the pot outright. He can only chop. And we see Jim continue with the bet of 325,000, a little less than half pot. Can't imagine Joe's going anywhere.
I don't see him getting aggressive with this either, because what's the point? You don't get action from worse or better to fold. So I think he's calling here 100%. So I'm not really sure why he's taking so long. What else can you do?
Just weighing his options, maybe. I don't think he can do much else here. But just thinking about what Jim could possibly have, what hands he's might bluffing with, you know, that type of stuff can warrant the extra time. And with 940K back and 1.3 million in the pot, I would imagine Jim's going to be all in on most rivers. That's a particularly interesting river because the backdoor flush draw gets there. But I think we still just see.
Yeah, the stacks versus pot here is not.
If I'm Jim and Joe has a flush, I'm just going home.
Yeah, exactly. There's not enough room to get away from it or worry about it even. Just try to get as much as you can.
And it looks like Jim's looks up thinking and probably counting the pot size would be my guess on what he should do here. Now, do we think Joe calls it off here if Jim shoves?
No.
I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, Jim does shove. And Joe certainly does not look happy. But he's going to ask for a count.
This spot's definitely not automatic. He can take some time here, and I won't fault him for it.
There's really not going to be much he's beating here.
I mean, just that line from the that line from the small blind versus big blind is just raise, bet, bet, bet. Looks kind of bluffy. Like there's not a ton of hands you just barrel 3 times with, and
I mean, on this board though, a lot of his, bluffs have. I mean, what is he bluffing with on the turn? Or even on the flop, he's betting hands like he had Jack 7, maybe Queen Jack. Maybe hands like King Queen or King Jack as well. If he had King Queen or King Jack on the turn, would he even go all in now? I mean, those are.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I'm not advocating for a call at all. Like I would most likely be folding in Joe's spot, but that's why Joe's thinking really hard. I mean, you get just the raise pre-flop from the small blind and bet every street no matter what. Like it doesn't always look credible.
Yeah, I think that especially when the flush gets there, though, it's just really hard for Jim to have, if Jim is playing, unless Jim is playing some like crazy suicide bluff strategy on the turn where he's just bluffing with some random 2 cards, a lot of his hands, if he's bluffing with a hand like a low flush draw or something, he just gets there.
Yeah. I mean, you can turn lots of hands that had some value into bluffs at this point. Like
definitely.
10-7, 10 Jack. Those kinds of hands could be trying to get Joe off an ace at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in this spot at the final table, though, it's just I wouldn't expect to see that too much from Jim, especially since Jim is one of the shorter stacks. I feel like shorter stacks play a little more honestly usually. When there's a lot of bigger stacks that could easily bust them.
Yeah, sure.
Just like here. I mean, if Joe calls and is correct, then Jim is just gone. Definitely a tough spot for Joe, though. If I'm Jim, I don't think Joe has as strong as Ace-Jack.
What hands are you value shoving there if you're Jim at this point? Like, are you doing it with 8-9? Probably not, right?
I mean, 8-9's a tricky one there.
So if you're not shoving with that much value, then
I mean,
there has to be as many bluffs as monsters.
You can easily just have like, Ace-9, Ace-10 though, and
yeah,
Queen. I mean, stuff like that, which I think still just makes its way all in here.
I think that's what Joe's tortured about, is there's not that many hands that he can have that he's shoving for value.
Yeah.
But I think there's plenty to be able to fold this one. But I don't know their history either. He could have seen Jim show up with all kinds of stuff yesterday. We have no idea.
Sure. So we see Jim sitting with his eyes closed, trying not to give anything off with the sweater around his neck there. Do you like that? Do you think this, you like doing that? You like kind of hiding your face a bit? Or are you one of those guys that just, just kind of sits there and tries to not show emotion? What do you do, Amanda?
I'm one of those guys who sits there with no emotion, I guess.
I like that Jim has his eyes closed, though.
I think he's looking down.
I don't think so.
Down, no?
I don't know. He had a pretty good.
I see the blink. No.
Pretty good shot before. His eyes looked pretty closed.
To me, it looks tense. It looks. I don't know.
It does look a little
tense.
He does look a little tense.
When I look at him right in this situation, I just feel like he has it. I feel like he's strong. But it's easy for me to say. I can see the cards.
Jim is no stranger to Borgata final tables. He won event 1 back in 2014 of the Fall Open for $184,000. But even so, they're playing for $275,000, so there's still a lot of money on the line. And even for a professional, this can be a tense spot when you're all in here. Well, I'll tell you, when I'm sitting there with Jack 7 though, and the flush rolls off here, and you go all in, you get a little scared. You don't want him to just snap call and have enough flush here.
Well,
for about 2 seconds.
Right, you're scared for a very short period of time. At this point, I don't think he's scared. At this point, he's obviously looking for.
Yeah, at this point, he's pretty happy and
definitely
thinks he's the best hand here.
Yeah.
It's a comforting 2 seconds though as a poker player.
I think Joe's looked at Jim one time. That might not be Joe's thing. He's more into
just trying to figure the hand
betting
out.
patterns and stuff rather than trying to look at someone and see, physical strength or weakness.
Now, do you think because he's tense, does that mean he has it, or tense because he's maybe making a bluff and he's scared?
Yeah, I mean, that's player dependent. I actually do put some stock into that when I'm look at people and try to do that throughout the day. But wow, he called.
Joe does make the call, and he's going to find out that that is not the best hand, and Jim is going to get a full double up here. I'm kind of surprised to see the call, although.
I'm surprised.
You know, I mean, like we said, maybe Jim was making some bluffs yesterday that we didn't see, and Joe's hand is so disguised, like so insanely disguised that.
That's a lot of chips.
That is a lot of chips he's going to ship over to Jim, and Jim's going to move into second place with that big pot there. And Joe is going to be our shortest stack by quite a bit now, I believe.
I'm going to give credit to Joe for being as accomplished as he is, and he's just a great player. We all know he's a great player, so I'd love to hear him talk us through how he played, why he called there, and why he just called pre-flop, and why he called the nines. Like, I'd really like to get into Joe's head. I was excited to see his hole cards today, but now I've seen them and I still don't know anything.
Definitely interesting. Yeah, Joe's only left with about 5 big blinds after that hand.
We know less about his game now
Yeah.
than we did before we saw his cards.
Exactly.
So you see how stacks reset after that. Andy's still our massive chip leader. And Jim is in second with 64 bigs. Brian Lemke, who started the day, I believe, 5 of 6, actually has moved into third place with his small pot that he won, and as well as you know, the shifting around to the other stacks there. You want to type it? Nice watch out of the poker room. You see the event today. That's some extra tables there. They're waiting for players. And a couple of people railing the final table. Like we said, most of these players very well known here at Borgata. Actually, all these players very well known at Borgata. So a lot of fans keep checking in. A lot of friends. Will be interesting to see if Jim decides to try to combat Andy's aggressiveness and, you know, try to play more pots, or if he just kind of sits back on his new chips and waits for some hands.
I want to see some more Joe Kuether action. Hope he doubles up a few times.
Jim will fold the button, and I imagine Joe goes all in with a large percentage of hands here from the small blind for his last 5 bigs. Joe's all in. We don't know his hand, but if you're Brian with queen 6 for 4 more big blinds, do you make the call here?
That's a really interesting one, actually. It's like right on the cusp. I mean, because it's suited. How many chips does Brian have? 1.7.
1.7.
Like 35 bigs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I call here. Oh, he does fold. You know, queen 6 suited, I think, is pretty good.
Do you shove any two if you're Joe?
I don't shove any two. No, I don't. I mean, some of the, you know, the hand. I mean, you have to know you're getting called really a lot there by Brian.
And you could move up if something happens.
Exactly. I mean, if I look down at, you know, some 3, 4, 5 high hands, I'm finding some folds.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of hands that go all in, but I wouldn't shove any two. I know there are some players that shove any two there, but I don't think at a final table here, I don't think I would be one of them.
It depends on who's in the big blind, but if I know the big blind's folding queen 6 suited, I'm shoving any two. That's for sure.
Beginning.
Man, seeing the Twitch chat is so fun. I mean, there's...
Twitch chat is a thing of its own. You know, we have about 300 viewers right now on Twitch, and there's chat is flying by. Twitch chat likes calling. Twitch chat likes calling with the queen 6 apparently.
Well, I mean that's Ryan LaPlante, right? Like, he's a accomplished professional. It's kind of cool seeing his input on there.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think I would call it the queen 6 as well.
I don't know a lot of these screen names. You probably know more of them.
No, I mean, I don't know most of these people in here, but I'm sure there are people that we may or may not know.
So how many blinds does Kuether have now?
Well, he had 5 plus the big blind plus Annie, so let's say almost 7.
Double up.
Probably about 6.5, 7.
We saw some folds last hand that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise seen if his stack wasn't there in between. There's a 9-5 suited fold and a Jack 9 off fold.
Yeah, well, with you know, with that short stack, you definitely don't want to lose when someone's probably going to go out in the next few hands.
Right.
You saw it flashing the screen there. Tweet at us at Borgata Poker, or no, we're at Borgata. Oh boy.
The hashtag is
Borgata
Live. Borgata Poker Live?
Borgata, yeah.
We should probably get better at that. Yeah,
Okay.
Borgata
Yeah.
Poker Live.
We are at Borgata Poker, and the hashtag is Borgata Poker Live. Tyler's on top of it. Yeah, Borgata Poker Live. There we go. So use that hashtag. You can tweet at us and ask us questions, talk to us, your comments, your whatever else you want to say.
Or just get on Twitch.
Or get on
use
Twitch,
the,
yeah.
Borgata AC.
I canceled my Run It Once Elite package because Twitch chat is better, says someone in the Twitch chat. All the information
great.
you can learn.
Andy going to think about the three deuce here. He has some kind of love for this hand.
Apparently, yeah. Maybe it's his favorite hand. No, he finds the folds from the big. It's good enough under the gun, but not from the big, apparently.
And Kuether thought about the Jack 10 suited.
Oh, is that what he folded?
He thought about it and made the fold.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Jack 10 is definitely a good hand there.
You're short-handed.
And
You have to
you've
find a
good
spot.
equity, yeah.
Yeah, you have to find a spot, and that kind of hand is going to flop pretty well. But I suppose I'm not sure if it's because it's Jim who's opening or if he just would rather find an open shove spot.
Well, he knows he has fold equity even with only 5 big blinds. So I think trying to find a spot with fold equity is better than just
For the
running it
open
out
shove,
with
agree.
Jack 10.
With the open shoving, at least you get, you're getting folds way more often, obviously. But on his stack, I mean, kind of want to call him. You're going to need to get called and double up.
Yeah, so he's got 330. He's got just less than 7 bigs, looks like.
In these 6-handed situations, obviously stealing the blinds since they're coming around so often, like if you are able to just jam a short stack and get it through, just doesn't do you as much good. You're not going to be able to see, obviously, as many hands as if you were in a 10-handed or 9-handed final table situation.
Yeah, that's true. And there's less antes to win. So
I think I'd be more inclined to take thinner spots, like maybe the Jack 10, because of that.
yeah, Jack 10 suited. That is tough to.
It's tough to fold with 6 bigs, yeah.
Run it out.
So Andy has moved up in his opening range. He has 4-3 off this time.
And Ben just ripped it all in with the ace-3 suited.
Are you surprised to see Ben shove when Joe's so short there?
Yeah, actually. I mean, it's still a good play. You probably know he probably knows that Andy's opening any 2 because of Joe's stack.
Yeah, I don't know if we're if we've been going for 30 minutes here. I guess we have. So maybe he was aware of that 3-2 open.
Well, just having a big stack when another player is down to 5, 6, 7 big blinds, you can really put a lot of pressure on your opponent. So Andy is doing that by opening there. But obviously Ben Zamani does not care about the next the next pay jump. He's just taking the best spot.
And Lemke's gonna open the Queen Jack. Brian Lemke, Pennsylvania native. He's from your neck of the woods, Amanda, right?
Yep. He's a legend.
Philly area. Used to be a bartender and now is the professional chauffeur, as you mentioned earlier, for his son. Zaki finds the fold to King Jack. Kind of surprised we don't see maybe him do something with that hand. I don't think Andy's going to fold this ace-8 though.
I mean, because of Joe, I'm going to be really aggressive if I'm Andy right now.
You think he's going to be
Just
putting in the 3 back
any 3
here?
that puts so much pressure on Brian, Zaki, and Ben, like with their stacks. Any 3-bet puts so
Lemke, you
much-
mean?
No, I'm saying Andy should be 3-betting
Yeah,
a ton of
yeah.
hands because it puts so much. Yeah, I'm saying Brian and Zaki
okay.
and Ben. It puts so much pressure on them because of the pay jump.
And he does 3-bet. And I think it's, like we said, it's really hard for Brian to do anything but fold here.
I mean, if you're Brian, even if you have ace-jack in this spot, it's, what do you do? I mean,
Brian's probably aware that Andy's capable of doing this light and applying pressure. He's, Brian has, 30 bigs to start the hand. But he's not going to take the spot. He is going to pass it and
I mean, I think that's just the right play. Like, it's just, it kind of stinks as Brian with that hand. Like, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to just fold it? Like, instead of opening, that seems not great. But at the same time, knowing Andy's going to play back with such a high frequency, it certainly doesn't feel great to me, knowing that I have to just fold there. And Andy could be doing a lot of bluffing. And I just see on our screen, Andy won a WSOP circuit ring back in 2013. And do we know what that was for? No, doesn't look like it. But he has $386,000 in lifetime earnings. This is his 50th career cash. We have a lot of cashes between these guys. Let's add those up. Actually, we have we have about 325 career live cashes between these 6 guys, worth over $8 million. That is impressive.
that is a ton.
We are undoubtedly going to see Andy open the King-9 off here. I heard from some people before the stream started that Andy was an aggressive player, and I was going to be in for a show. And this has been the Andy show so far.
Ben's really aggressive also.
He usually is. He just doesn't have that many chips, I think, too. I think that's what's been holding him back for the most part this time. Joe's in the big now. He's got almost 1/7 of his stack in the middle there. You still find the fold to 10-6, or you just put it in here?
That's kind of interesting. I think
I find the fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Now, what about if you're Jack 10 here?
Yeah, definitely would put the Jack 10 in because it could even be the best hand.
That's true, especially if maybe he knows Andy's opening that 4-3. Joe's going to call here, which is interesting.
Interesting is.
It's a big portion of his stack here with the 10-6.
Well, a big reason why we don't defend hands like 10-6 when you're getting a min raise, when you're getting that price, is reverse implied odds, and you don't have any of that when you have a really small stack. So you're just getting the price that's laid to you, and it's pretty good.
This is true. But at the same time, you're putting in now 30% of your stack, and if you miss, we're just folding.
Yeah,
that feels like a lot of chips.
He's not. I don't think he's stop and going. I think Andy knows what that is. So
yeah, I don't think so either. But so Joe moves all in on the turn here, and it looks like Andy's going to think it over with this king high.
He said, Andy's saying to himself, "Is this a delayed stop and go? Do I want to call with king high though?" I mean, if it is, if he really thinks it is, then obviously king high would be a call. But
I would imagine there's a couple of hands that, Joe does this with that Andy's ahead of. Maybe not a ton.
yeah, I don't know. That should be
You don't think so?
2 diamonds or some draw that the 8 created. He's not going to be. There's no way Joe checks. I don't know. He doesn't check the flop on something that he was going to bluff with.
This is true. And Andy does lay it down. And
That is a super awkward spot.
works quite well for Joe. So let's look at what they're playing for here. $277,000 for first place, and sixth place will get $51,000. Pretty small jumps up till they get to about third or so, which is where we start really seeing the money come in.
I mean, 10K is definitely a real. That's real money,
Oh, absolutely.
So they should be aware of of Joe's small stack when all you have to do is fold to get $10,000 more.
And I'm sure they are, but, you know, with the $2,700 buy-in, only 4 buy-ins or so, you know, I don't, it's not a very significant jump is what I was, you know, getting at.
Right, yeah, so it's 10,000 for this jump. And the next one after that is only 11 or 12, right? So I think
Yeah, they're I think there's another 10 or so. And it looks like Jim's thinking about it with the 4 deuce off. Maybe he's picking up on some of Andy's lessons.
I don't like opening complete trash there in that spot because when Joe shoves, how many big blinds does Joe have?
Joe's about 10 now. He's
Well, I guess you can fold to that.
double to about 10. So Joe goes all in, and Lemke with a quick call. Lemke is ace queen, and you have to see Joe's hand, but I would guess that's significantly the best hand. Joe with the king 7, and he's going to need to hit a king or a 7 to
These hands definitely
stay
play
alive.
themselves. There's no one doing anything different here.
Clean flop so far. They have some chop outs now. 5 or a jack will also chop the pot for the 2 of them. But the 3 won't do it. And Joe Kuether is going to be our 6th place finisher.
Wow.
He's going to take home $51,000.
Good officially for his 110th career cash. Congratulations.
At 27 years old? Man.
That's impressive.
110 live cash.
And it moves him over.
27.
It moves him over. Very close to $4 million in earnings, actually. Not just shy still. Joe always a great player though, and I'm sure there's other players. You know, it's kind of tough when you're at a final table with 6 pros that are all quite good. But they got to be a little relief to see Joe get knocked out so early.
Of course, yeah. You know he has some solid logic behind that ace-jack call. I'd love to hear it. Probably
Yeah,
gonna
definitely.
be a while before I can ask him.
Definitely be interesting to try to figure it out. You know, I think what we said, earlier, people just, or rather, he doesn't think that Jim is going to expect him to have a hand as good as ace-jack there very often.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
And
sure.
that's a quite good hand to have in that sort of blind versus blind situation. Even though the board ran out scary, still feels like just a very good hand.
So that's part of it. So he's got, his hand is bigger than expected. Also, the just raise from the small blind and 3-barrel isn't always that credible. And he
I don't know.
maybe
I don't know why you don't think it's that credible on that board.
Well,
You seem to be giving Jim less
that board
credit than I
actually
am.
it made some sense, but most of the time something's going to scare you off or slow you down when a guy calls you twice.
Yeah.
So he didn't. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to get into Joe's head. I would have folded that hand for sure, but I'm trying to come up with a reason why he called. I think that's part of it.
Maybe we're just too nitty. I would have folded.
I would have folded too.
So we see Ben getting aggressive with the jack 4 off, and Justin's going to defend the big with his pocket 5s. A little surprised he didn't shove. Well, he only has about 20 bigs behind, so he started with him with like 22, I guess. Definitely could see that being an all-in type hand. Can be tricky to play post flop, when all his overcards come.
Yeah, this is a.
I mean, what do we do
now.
now? I mean, this is not even a good spot for us with our pocket 5s and.
Yeah, I mean it's way ahead, but what are you going to do on the turn? There's not a lot of good turn cards.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, he's ahead, but he's there's definitely a lot of turns where he's not going to win this pot. So
Right.
He does make the correct call so far, and that's going to be one of those cards that he does not like to see. Now, if you're Ben, do you just keep betting here, or do you do something like try to check to try to be tricky and pretend you have something else or have the ace, and or do you just keep betting?
I mean, I might give up on some cards, but not that one.
So you would just
I would
keep
for
betting?
sure barrel that card. I mean, whether I had it or not, there's not.
It's just too good of a card.
Yeah.
You know,
I can't imagine a hand that I had if I was Ben that I wouldn't bet that turn.
and it definitely, it's going to make Justin's life very difficult with a lot of his hands, such as the one that he has here.
And he does opt to bet here.
$180 into a pot of about 500. What about a half pot? That's about 470 pot or so.
So on Twitch here, Michael Horton 76. No idea who that is. Anybody? I don't know if that's a.
I'm not sure.
But he's hitting the nail on the head. I mean, that's the reason why Joe calls, is because there's not that many hands that Jim is going to value shove with.
Which is kind of what you're talking about.
And he has an ace, so the ace is up hands. There's not that many of them, so the other two pairs are you know, not aces up.
Zaki not going anywhere with the pocket fives, though.
That's interesting.
Definitely interesting to see here.
The turn card is just such a good barrel card that he knows Ben has to bet it.
And the river breaks, and I think we see Ben give up a lot here now, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Justin's got to have a lot of aces.
I mean, even if he doesn't have an ace, it just shows that Justin
Yeah, he does
obviously isn't
instantly,
giving him
instantly
credit
give
for
up.
the ace.
And a good read by Zaki there to come up with that pot.
Don't you think he expects a player like Ben Zamani is like an aggressive player? Don't you think he's expecting him to try to rep an ace on the turn? No.
Yeah.
I would think so. You know, it's still just really hard to call with your two fives there, though.
There could be more difficult river cards than.
I mean, there's a flush draw, there's a straight draw, there's actually two flush draws. There's just so many bad cards. The deuce of diamonds is one of the best ones for you.
For Zaki.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to call against a player like Zamani, just when you know that he's a kind of player who can apply pressure on future streets. He's going to be aggressive. And on that kind of flop, there's just so many bad cards that can come out in turns and rivers.
If you guys come down to the Borgata, get paid for your 4 of a kinds every Wednesday in the poker room at Borgata, you can win up to $500 an hour from noon to 8 p.m. That's right here in the Borgata poker room. You guys play a lot of live cash here at the Borgata?
I play a little bit of live cash here at Borgata once in
You
a while.
just strictly Hold'em, or do you play ever play any of the mixed games or PLO or
I'm
anything?
a Hold'em gal.
You're just a Hold'em gal?
I like the PLO here. I'll play Hold'em also. But Hold'em games, I mean, people are getting pretty good at knowing Hold'em.
Debatably so. Yes. No, people are definitely getting better at, the game's getting more figured out, and there's a lot more resources out there, so people are getting better at, just simply not playing horribly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they have a ton of games here, so you can move around, you can play different stakes and Hold'em and PLO and all the mix and stuff. So there's a lot of options. So this is
I like playing some of the mixed games sometimes. Get a little Badoosie, Badacey in there.
I don't know how to play any of that.
It's just fun to mix it up. We see Jim 3-bet the 6s and get the quick fold from Ben, who is now our short stack with only about 15 big blinds or so. Looks like he's looking to play that stack a little aggressively as he opens the ace through there, but we'll see what he has in store for us. So guys, if you're just joining us, this is the final table of the $2,700 Spring Poker Open main event. Had a $1 million guarantee that it surpassed. And these 5 players are playing for $277,000 for first place here.
And they've already locked up 61,000?
I believe it's 61 and some change, yeah, right around there. We unfortunately don't have the payouts right in front of us. Lemke in the cutoff with ace-7. Brian Lemke, we're going to see an open here from him. And it looks like Zaki's thinking about getting creative with the king-7.
Yeah, he's feeling pretty good after those 5s.
You got to feel pretty good calling down with, next to nothing on a scary board and having the best hand.
Yeah, you can just see it in the way he's sitting and moving, and he's feeling pretty good right now.
It's interesting to note that, a lot of players have told me about Zaki. It actually says here, you know, on his sheet that his best live finish is only a third place. So he doesn't have any wins, and he has 66 career cashes. You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, the Zaki has made so many big final tables. He's never had a win, and that everyone's rooting for him to have his, you know, breakthrough win. You got to think that's in the back of his head a little bit.
For sure. You
know, and that 5-10 has to feel extra good because of that. So here we see Andy come after Lemke again with the queen 10 this time.
And not only was that good for Zaki's stack, but it also hurt Ben a lot.
Absolutely.
They
nearly crippled him.
Yeah.
And Lemke comes back with a 4-bet pretty quickly, actually, to about 800,000. It looks like 7 something.
With 1.9 to start.
Yeah. 2.1 to start, I think. And I would imagine this will win it. Yeah. So Lemke definitely not going to be pushed around by Andy any longer now that he's got some chips to work with, now that the short stack is gone.
Still chewing on the sweatshirt.
Still tastes good. Lemke's quite the character. He does have a World Series bracelet to his credit. That's his 2011. I don't believe that's accurate. I think he won that in 2000. I believe that that was in 2009, his bracelet. Do you remember?
No, I think it might have been 2010.
It might have been 10. It definitely wasn't 11. I know that.
11 might be a little.
Yeah, yeah. Here we are again.
Oh, hey guys.
Tyler Patterson, Michael Gagliano, and well, I'm Michael Gagliano. That's Tyler Patterson.
I'm Mike Gagliano.
And Amanda Musumeci.
We got some info here from Twitch that Zaki does have, that he may have some wins before 2008 because most tournaments did not report to Hendon Mont.
Okay, okay.
Before that.
Well, he's still made some really big final tables since 2008 that has unfortunately not come through with wins at. I know he final table day World Series events 2 years ago in 2013, I believe. And I believe finished third place in that one as well.
Oh, you got a little shot of Steve Brecker walking around the
What a legend he is, huh?
Yeah, superstar.
So here's our reset. Andy Spears still our overwhelming chip leader. Jim Gilbert is moving to second. Lemke in third. Justin Zaki still cruising around with about 30 bigs. And Ben Zamani now the short stack with only about 15 big blinds here as they play 250, 500,000. If you're in the Borgata, we got some seats down here if you want to come watch live. If you're relaxing in your room, I think we're on the TVs in the hotel room as well. That was last time at least.
That's pretty cool.
You can come check it out.
We have our 15K starting up tomorrow, no?
The WPT Championship
Commentators,
is
you guys
tomorrow.
playing the 15K?
I am playing tomorrow, yes.
I am not playing.
I'm playing tomorrow.
You're playing?
Yeah.
I think it should be
I
a
haven't played very many over
good
10K.
tournament. The only thing I played the 15K last year was the only thing I played that large.
I played it last year as well.
There's a satellite later tonight. You gonna fire, maybe?
I may. We'll see.
Too tired?
Should I sweat that this final table is over so that I can get there?
It could be blown over very quickly, I think. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, these aggressive guys, man, they see chips flying around. We definitely could see it. We definitely could see a fast final table here. Did Ben shove or did he just raise there? I missed that.
I think it was just a raise. Look, it said 900,000 on the.
Yeah, it looks like Twitch chat is confirming that Lemke's was in 2009. He won the bracelet for 692,000. That's a large score. That is Lemke's largest score to date.
What bracelet was that?
It was a 5K no limit, non-handed.
I've heard good things about that tournament. I don't know.
They usually run a couple. They usually run. They used to just run 2 like full rings, and now they run I think an 8-handed, a 6 max. And
the 5Ks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think there's 4 of them, and there's
4 this year. Wow.
I think there's 4. Yeah,
Wow.
if I'm not mistaken. 6-handed, 8-handed, and
There's definitely at least 1 9-handed.
And I think there's 2 9-handed. I could be mistaken, but I think there were 4.
And the end of the game, looks like he's having fun. It's easy to have fun when you have all those chips in front of you and you know you're feeling good. It's going to be pretty hard for Andy to bust out in 5th generally in this spot. So now, we talked about a table of, 5 good professionals here. Who is the best seat? Is there a best seat? Is it just based on chip stack? Usually you want to be to the left of the aggressive players, so they're not picking on you, but since everyone's kind of aggressive, how are we picking where the best seat is? What do you guys think?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would still kind of go by that same philosophy. Andy with all the chips, and I know he's, he definitely has his hyper lag tendencies. I want to be to the left of him.
Yeah, I like Jim's seat personally. He's kind of got the shorter stacks around him. It's not as much to worry about. You can play a little more straightforward versus them. You're far away from Andy where...
Well, your big blind is Andy's button. That's not great.
No. Oh, your big blind is... Well, now it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's not great.
Oh, actually, no, it always was. Well, that's better than it being the other way around, where your button is his big.
Yeah,
I would think,
maybe.
He's going to be raising my big blind a lot, but that's not as always bad.
Is anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Looks like we're having some issues with the Twitch audio. So if you guys bear with us, they're going to restart the Twitch stream if you're having some audio issues. We're gonna get on that. I love these chip colors that they use for this set. This is one of my favorite tournament sets around the colors. I'm a big chip
I like how
snob.
big they are.
No, these ones aren't big. These are the normal ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, these are normal size. The oversized ones are the ones we're using in the 6 Max.
Oh, okay.
Gags busting the 6 Max just in time to join us here today for commentary.
I did. It was.
Oh, yeah, you cashed, huh?
I did. It was kind of a sweat.
The Borgata was sweating it.
I think they were.
I think I heard them
think so
anti-sweating
too.
you.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I went up to Tab this morning and I was like, I'm in the 6 Max still. He's like, oh, are you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you guys will start to 3. I'm sure you'll lose by then. I said, gee, thanks, Tab.
That's pretty
He had a
good.
lot of faith in me. And sure enough, about 1:30, I was gone, well gone. So I did manage to squeak into the money though.
If you defend the big blind, you just check fold everything that misses on these boards. These like ace high, rainbow.
Who's the big one here? Andy?
Yeah.
I mean, we can have ace highs. Ace high is not always the best board. Ace 9-3 rainbow is definitely not one of the best.
Yeah, that's probably a board I just give up almost every time.
If I had Queen Jack, I would certainly give up on it. It's funny. I was complaining once, about defending the big blind and just getting ace 2-2 flops all the time, because it's one of the harder flops for you to connect with as being the big blind. Obviously, we'll have some aces in our hand, but a lot of the time we have hands like Andy had there, Queen Jack and stuff, that we just don't like that board as much, and that board much more heavily favors someone like the pre-flop raiser.
I don't like to reverse float very often, floating from out of position. But
Sure,
those are the
sure.
boards that make sense. Like the ace 9-3 rainbow, you can check call and win the bet later, or win the pot later.
This is true. This is true.
I was going to say I'm kind of a float monster, especially when I
Even
know.
out of position, huh?
Yeah, especially just because I feel like, I've played with these guys a lot, and I feel like Jim's obviously is going to be c-betting like a ton,
100% on that board, I think.
and so I don't know. Maybe I use the female thing. I'm like, oh, if I call, they're definitely going to give me credit and slow down on the turn, and then I like talk myself into doing spazzy things.
That's not necessarily spazzy, though. That's
No, but I mean, if they're c-betting with a high frequency, then you should be.
you can win that pot on the turn or river.
Yep.
So Brian Lemke comes in for the raise here with the 8s, and Justin Zaki calls the button with the ace 10 of hearts, and looks like Andy's thinking about making the squeeze with ace 8. We will see. He's been quite aggressive in the spot already, but he opts to lay it down this time.
Wonder why he decides to lay that one down. Thinks Justin's calling range is pretty strong, or he thinks it's too obvious?
You know, probably a combination. He's been really aggressive. Brian played back at him last time. And yeah, probably there's 2 other players to worry about. We haven't seen him, you know, go too crazy with the types of squeezes. It's more just been heads-up stuff that he's been going after people. Doug Heffernan on Twitter says, I love how you guys talk about $10,000 like it's 10 cents. Amazing. You know, and it's, you know, like Tyler said, it's not that it's 10 cents, but in relation to what these guys are playing for first place and in relation to what they bought into this tournament for, you know, it's not that much money. Obviously, any one of us would rather have $10,000 than not have $10,000, but it's one of these situations where these guys paid $2,700 to get into this tournament. You know, it's just about 3 and 4 times that amount.
And gambling for that pay jump, you know, gambling in spite of that pay jump might end up getting you $270,000. So
this is
you're
true.
not just throwing away the
This is true.
$10,000. You might be risking it for a big pay jump, you know. This is pretty interesting. Zaki just calls this the 9-7-4 flop
What do you think about that?
with ace-10. I'm not
He's also,
sure what the plan is.
he didn't have a ton of chips.
Wow. So he didn't bet the turn in that spot after calling the flop. I think maybe because he picked up a gut shot.
What's the river? Oh, it's just a 7. Okay. Yeah, they went check on the turn. Then it looks like check on the river.
It seems like a strange call on the flop if you're not going to bluff the turn.
I mean, I guess he just thought he was the best hand.
Yeah.
You know, ace-10 high can definitely be best there sometimes. You know, we saw, you know, Jim c-betting with his king 5s and that type of stuff. Maybe that's what Justin was thinking there. If you guys are watching, I don't know if the audio is working on Twitch or what, but if you guys are having issues, reload the page and it should work.
So this new festival park is going up outside. Have you guys seen the construction out there?
I actually have not, but it looks quite cool. So where's this going to be? This is going to be right outside in between the buildings, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of out here, out back of the poker room. That exit back there.
Look at these bands coming up. The Killers,
lineup.
Megan Trainor, 311. Darius Rucker.
Willie Nelson. He's still going, huh?
311
guess so.
Let's go, Willie.
I didn't know 311 was still going. That's surprising.
Come
I
original.
feel like Willie Nelson still going is a bit more impressive than 311.
I don't know. It's
Most
pretty
of the 90s bands are gone. The 311 ilk, so.
I'll tell you, man, back in the 90s, if you had to tell me one band that was going to still be here in 2015, they would have not been my first pick.
No, I wouldn't have been there. Hootie, though.
This is true. That should be cool, though. So I guess that stuff is coming up in the summer.
Yeah, I've only seen the mock-ups like there, but it looks pretty cool having a little outdoor festival park.
How's it coming along? Is the construction close to being done, do you know? Or
No, it's not. There's a bunch of stuff.
are they going to make it?
I don't know.
They'll make it. They'll make it.
They'll make it.
Zaki takes it down with the queen 10. I like checking out the different attire that everyone's wearing. You know, Lemke and Jim, both of the sweatshirts that they pull around the side of their head. Zaki going with the baseball hat. Everyone goes to something a little different. Everyone's got their classic poker look.
Yeah, Zaki's always wearing the Tampa Bay sports gear, kind of like Affleck with his Seattle sports gear.
Yep.
Zaki's one of the hat and shoes guys.
What, does he not wear shoes?
No, they just always have like the newest and coolest and most colorful.
Oh, I thought you meant he always wears shoes. I was going to ask if you don't wear shoes or what's going on there. And the ever popular NWO shirt.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. All the different poker crews out there.
Zaki is part of that crew. Enough is enough.
Those are funny memes.
Yeah, so it looks like our Twitch stream is back up, and hopefully the audio issues have been fixed, guys. Sorry about
good
that.
Stuff.
So Andy opens the king 7 on the cutoff, and Ben is quickly all in with ace 4 off, which is a little surprising.
Is it?
Although
I mean, against Andy's
we've seen
open.
Andy opening a lot, and you know it's going to be hard pressed for him to find the call when he has a lot of those weekends in his range.
And again, short-handed, you're going to need to find spots like this against Andy. I think this is a fine spot to take.
Yeah, I don't pass that one up very
He
often.
only had 700K. He picks up 200, so, and he's doing it in a spot where obviously Andy should be folding a good amount.
And
Although,
it's a good hand to have. I mean, you're blocking some hands, having the ace. You got the wheel draw. I think it's a good hand to do it with.
If you guys play a minimum of 50 live action hours in April, you earn bonus comp dollars. Let's see. I don't know how many bonus comp dollars you earn, but come check it out. 50 hours is, you know, you can get that done in, well, some of these guys, you get that done in 2 sessions.
I've almost done it in one before.
That is
Wow.
insanity. So that's, I would guess that's the longest session you've ever played?
Yeah, 44, I think, maybe.
Same game?
Yeah, same game. Yeah, up in Seattle, the Tulalip Casino where I used to play all the time. I mean, I still play when I'm around. We only get the big games going 2 or 3 days a week. So if you want to play them, you just kind of
You got to just stay in
just
it.
got to stay in the
You
game.
gotta sit
yeah,
there and
sometimes
just-
it's too good. You can't.
Wow. What's the longest you've ever played, Amanda?
I mean, in what, cash game?
And longest poker session. Live, online, anything.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I've been mostly a tournament grinder for a while. I haven't really done a whole lot of cash, so I guess my longest session would have been in the online poker days. Maybe
Play some of those W coops.
16, 17 hours.
Go deep into the morning. I remember playing a W coop that, you know, I probably started playing around 1 p.m. that day, and I played until, you know, about 9 a.m. the next morning. So however many hours that is.
I think the multi-day,
20 hours
the
probably.
multi-day live tournaments, I think, are more of a strain than just one long day.
I could see that, yeah.
I've gotten
feel
deep in the WSOP main event, and that was like almost 7 full days of play for me, brags. But that was probably more exhausting than any online session I've ever had.
Wrenchim on Twitch says stream's working fine. He's watching from Northern Europe. It's great to see,
Wow,
you know,
cool.
viewers from all over the world checking in. What we're doing over here at the Borgata. If you're ever over here in America, great casino. Come check it out.
So they're not passing up any spots. Andy opens and Jim 3-bets with ace-7 off, which is pretty normal, but it's ambitious and aggressive.
Andy finds the call, and he's going to like this flop. Top pair plus the straight draw. Now, if you're Jim, you got the gut shot. Are we still continuing here?
That board hits guys who are defending out of position 3-bets. A little too strong. I probably don't.
So we just check back and try to hit our straight draw, you think?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, that's what Jim's going to do here, and I think it's a fine play. He makes a pair, which has got to feel a little good. You know, if Andy's got a small pocket pair, you beat some of those now.
Andy, because he's opening so wide, he's going to have to defend some 3-bets a little wider. So calling even under the gun out of position with the King-Jack makes some sense.
You surprised Andy didn't bet this turn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he has a good reason for checking there.
Would you think Jim would check, you know, big hands here sometimes? Or do you think he always just bets them on the flop?
I would think he probably bets most on the flop, no?
I would
Yeah, I
think
think so.
probably.
And I don't know, the check back could look kind of like showdown value-y. So I think if I'm Andy, I'd probably just bet here and try to get value out of my hand.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jim with something like a set, you know, I'm kind of, you know, you don't want a lot of those straight cards peeling off that complete those straights. So I would
I don't
expect
think
most
Andy
players
is
to
checking
bet
that
there.
turn to be safe or careful. I think he's doing it to get value out of bluffs. He gets more value out of bluffs than value out of paired
Out of
hands,
worse hands.
probably.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting river here. Jim makes 2 pair and Andy makes the straight. Now the question becomes, what does Jim do? Does he bet? Or does he just take showdown here? We've had a couple of really interesting river spots where, yeah, Andy does just take the showdown, and he's not going to be happy to see that one.
I like going for thin value, but in that spot, I don't know how you're going to get it. I think it's probably best to be checking back with the ace-7.
We've had a few really interesting spots where, you know, guys make these good hands on the river or on the turn, but they're just not like that good, and they're still kind of these awkward, tough to play spots. So definitely good to see. And with that, Andy just adds to his chip lead. Bigger and bigger. So players talking in the chat here a bit about kind of how long some of their sessions were. We got a couple players. We got in Artel played 2 36-hour session with only a 5-hour break. That is impressive.
Wow.
I certainly would not be doing that. Lanny Poker is talking about how late some tournaments play. Amanda was talking about how long she played in some of the WSP main days in a row. Some of the tournaments here sometimes go really late. Some of the bigger, opening events and that type of stuff.
Or even the one-day events. My gosh, some of those one-day events.
I played till 7:45 in one once. Yeah.
7, 8, 9 a.m. Almost 24.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that if you're in a one-day event that was supposed to be one day and they happen to get a big turnout and you're getting deep and it gets to 3, 4 o'clock, do you want to finish, or would you rather just say, hey, let's come back tomorrow?
Usually I like to try to go ahead and finish. Usually in these one-day events, they're typically smaller buy-ins. At least from what I've experienced here at Borgata, those are the ones that tend to run pretty late, like the $200 to $300 buy-ins. And so you get more like recreational guys. They tend to be a bit like maybe twice my age. They get a little more tired, a little earlier than I do, and so.
So you want to play because you feel like you have more of an edge.
I have a late night edge.
Sure.
My attention span, my momentum won't slow down quite as much, I feel like, at my age than some of the others. So it's kind of a stamina race at that point. So for that reason, yeah, I think I like to play it out.
I think it's a tough spot, because if as someone who's running a tournament, if you advertise it's going to be one day, maybe some people don't have 2 days off of work and that type of thing. You talk about recreational players, people don't always have 2-3 days to spend in a tournament. But you're right, people do get tired, and there's something to say about, well, hey, let's just come back and finish when everyone's rested. Everyone can make better decisions, and I'm sure you can make better decisions on a good night's rest as well.
I like playing the long sessions too. I mean, it's a cash background thing.
Sure.
I think that if everybody's on a B game, that's probably a bigger edge for me than everybody's A game.
Definitely.
Mine.
So we see Brian Lemke 3-bet and take that last pot down.
Again with the ace-8, they're not shying away with these middling aces.
Yeah, those are the hands they seem to pick for the 3-bets. So the players are going to go on a break, and so are we. So we will be back.